Hey guys, welcome back to the Silverback Show. I'm your host, Joe Bunton, and today we're going to be talking about wild animals versus domesticated animals and the benefit and connection to the Silverback principle, mind, heart, body, and the wholeness that we all need to embrace. So as you can guess, and as you can glean, and as you can glance and glimmer from my premise and my philosophical background, each and every one of us need to spend, as you know, we need to actually take breaks to get away from civilization. And I'm not somebody who says you've got to go to Alaska and live in a van and in the middle of wilderness and never see another human being again. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the need to reconnect to wildness. There is very little that connects us to our most complete physiological, biological, genetically inherited mind, heart, body, physicality as being in wild nature. So for some, that could be hiking in Yosemite Valley. For others, that can be rock climbing. For some, it could be taking strolls in canyons where there are no people and there's only wild animals and plants. For others, it could be out on the lake where there's nobody in sight for, your morning and your fly fishing. For some people, it's down at the river. But we all seek out some places that, whether we're conscious of it or not, connect us to wild nature. Unfortunately, we're so commercialized that, there's so many people who are coming down to the seashore, and there's so much to get out of being at the seashore, but they're bringing their technology down there with them. And it's almost, it's not washing it out, but it is taking you away from auditory intelligence, and by bringing your boom boxes down to the seashore. I mean, you got your whole life, and if you bring your family, if you're with your parents, if you're with your kids, if you're with your loved one, go to your movies, turn on your stuff at home. Have a break when you go down to the seashore. Have a break when you go to the park. Have a break when you go into the mountains, and you've got to bring something with you that keeps the entirety of the senses connecting and being stimulated. And I think that's one of the things that I want to talk about, is that over 30 years of sitting at the seashore, my eyes, my visual has opened up and expanded my consciousness in a way that if I have blinders on, right, I don't have that experience. My auditory senses, my ability to distinguish different bird sounds, my ability to understand the sea and what's going on with the seashore based on sounds, based on this long distance vision and this peripheral vision, and my sense of smell. Now, those are things that we need to get out in primitive places and have the full sensorial experience. Having said that, there's a place up in Northern California where I used to take our family every spring, summer for 6 weeks. And I was warned, I'm a city guy coming into the country, and even though I'm a nature guy, I grew up in a pretty large city. I shouldn't say city. I didn't grow up in the heart of the city, in suburbia, but it was connected to, well, right now there's 4 million people. There was probably 500,000 when I was a kid. Maybe there was 100,000. I don't know. I haven't actually looked at that. I should go back, because it was a lot more peaceful, and there was a lot more nature and a lot less shopping malls. So where was I going with this? Oh yes. So getting up into Northern California, one of the things that I was very ignorant about, like most of us are who don't spend much time in wild nature, is exactly what it means to be in a situation where your senses have to be keenly sharpened, because there are elements that we have to be alert to, because there's nobody around to help us. If you walk out in the street and get hit by a car, there's probably 10 cars stopping, and there's 20 to 50 people contacting somebody immediately to help you. In nature, if you make a slip and a fall, so that's part of risk taking. Being in wild nature, one of the things I've written about a lot, because I spent a lot of time alone, following rivers and doing my writing in places so far removed from people, and there's this buzz and there's this hum, and you don't know ever what's going to come around the corner, and 99.9% of the time there's not something dangerous that does come around the corner, but there's an alertness. Just like the deer has an alertness. The deer hears you, and you look at each other, and the deer has to use its sixth sense to understand, is this person a predator? Is this danger? Should I leave? The same thing when you hear the deer and you look and you have to say, is that a tiger? Well, no, I'm not where tigers are. Is that a mountain lion? Is that a bear? Almost always where I am, it's a deer or a squirrel, but it has been a bear. And my father jokingly told me, that I should have a gun in our cabin. And I'm like, a gun? I don't need a gun. I mean, I'm a city guy. What do I need a gun for? And all the mountain people laughed at me all the time. Well, at 1 a.m, huddled with my children, in our A-frame living room floor with our sleeping bags, I heard sounds outside, and I didn't pay attention to them, and a bear broke into our house. It busted the door down. So all I heard was the noise, and I woke up my son, of course, right? It's like, hey, I'm the silverback, but I'm scared shitless. And I had a knife at my side. and as I went to explore, the bear had dragged a bag outside. I closed the door and locked it, and I sat there with a knife thinking, yeah, brilliant. This is real brilliant. This knife and my silverback personality is gonna do a whole lot of good with a bear. Now, I've hiked on our property a, a, a river, or yeah, it's a river. A river ran through it, and on the other side of the river was federal forest lands, so they're just untouched. And the creek that fed the river was a place that I loved to hike. I mean, it was just like magical. I mean, you talk about you're hiking, your adrenaline's going, your physicality's going, and all your senses are pumped. So you're in tune with something in wild nature that you can't be attuned to in a civilized place. And I remember hiking up the river, up the creek. I mean, I got my boots on, I got my shorts on, and this is mountain snow melt, so the water's cold, but I'm hiking and I'm pumped. And there's this pool of water, and there's this little tiny falls, and it's maybe about 20 feet. And so now, I was with my skillful daughter and my skillful son, but my skillful son was pretty small. And they had climbed up before me, and I climbed up, and I got stuck. And I was literally on this edge, this ledge, with a 20-foot drop into rock. And it's wet, water's trickling down. My legs are trembling because I can't quite figure how to get up to the tree up. There's a tree. If I could get to that tree, I could pull myself up. So ultimately, my daughter came, held to the tree, and dangled her leg, and that helped me have something to grasp onto. Now, those are things in wild nature that are deeply connected to a development of the self that's has to be a lot more fierce. It's like inner city, Chicago, understanding where the knives and guns are going to be flung, and understanding how to, get out of work and get back home if you're, walking in a dangerous zone. Only it's vastly different. The risks and the dangers are different, but you have these different parallels, and in nature, there's a consciousness that's evolved. If you've done any primitive trekking, if you've been out in the wilds, that keep you on your toes in a certain way. Now, wild animals to me are a profound experience. There was a fawn that my brother came upon in the woods near our A-frame property, near a mile away. And the fawn lay there and didn't move. It was a newborn. And my brother, with his primitive instincts, saw the fawn trembling and laid down with the fawn and had this heart-mind-body connection with it, but also knew that he had to leave it alone because its mother would be coming back sometime. That's a very powerful experience. And I know of people who have had other experiences with wild animals. So let's fast forward to pets. What I like about cats is their independence. And yet at the same time, what I like is to allow cats to have freedom in the garden. You see a different animal come to life than just keeping it indoors. The same with dogs. Everything's become so organized and sterile in our relationship with animals, but those who have animals understand how much they have to teach us. But when I was a boy, there was nothing greater than taking my neighbor's dog, Max, into the canyon. And a boy with a dog in wild nature is something that all parents should reconsider. There are places in any suburbs today where you can take a dog into nature, and you can go as parents and then just hang out in a place and let your boy or girl run with a dog and find their own adventures, especially as they get up in the age where you're comfortable. We've got to reestablish this connection with wildness, even though we're balancing it with domestication that ties in with risk-taking and quiet time alone in nature and the development of childhood. Namaste.